Hello everyone and welcome back to our Fractured Crown set review. Today we're going to be going over our normal element cards. In our last video we did our Regalia. If you have not seen that, go ahead and check it out. It'll be down in the description below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our first card. We have Bedivere, Woodland Overseer. It is a unique ally, tamer, animal, human. Bedivere has taunt as long as you control another animal or beast ally. It has a class bonus with a level 3+ kicker on that. On death, put a buff counter on each animal and or beast ally you control. So it supports the going wide strategy. In addition, with the taunt, it forces you to have to kill it. So if you are that level 3, you sort of get the buff. And it has 4 health, which is really strong. That's an uncommon number, a hard to get over. First impression of this card, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. The art is very cute. I like it. I think this card would be playable. Design, I feel like they sort of knew what the tamer niche is, and it's going wide with a board. Water has give bath to go ahead and protect it. Wind has cry for help. But they don't really have a generic protect my board, so this is where that card will fit in that niche. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4-star on design. It's understandable. I wish the on death put a buff counter on everything wasn't a level 3 trigger, at least a level 2 trigger. That would make it a lot better, I believe. I don't know if there's something the devs know that I don't know that would make it too strong at level 2, but we'll see. And playability wise, I think decks will be running it, but not as a 4 of. It's probably going to be a 1, maybe 2 of. Great if you see it. I'm going to go ahead and give that 3-star playability. It does have a very nice CSR alternate, which I feel like the enlargement of the picture without borders makes some of these Grand Archive cards look so good. Alright, and speaking of CSR, we have another card with a CSR. We have Blanche, the Sheltering Saint, a unique ally cleric human, level 2+, it gets the fast activation skill. If another unit you control would be dealt non-attack damage, prevent any amount of that damage equal to the amount of cards in your memory. So this is sort of a protection spell for a unit. And first impression of this card, 5 stars. I love it. The art's very cute. The skill is super cool. It's very well costed, and the stats aren't too bad. The important thing to remember on this card is that when it comes in, it's a unit would be dealt non-attack damage, so it is here to protect your champion. And then I think that's a very important part, because that helps stop some of these Rise, some of these Xanders, even Fire Lorraines if they try and chuck a sword at you. Blanche is here to get down Mr. President. Design, I feel like this is very well designed. I don't really have any complaints. The fast activation at level 2 makes so much sense, and the reason it's locked behind it is because it prevents you from sitting early game with not having to do anything. So it does encourage a level up. I'm going to go ahead and give that 5 stars. Playability wise as well, another 5 stars there. I think this card is very playable. It's sideboard playable, it's main deck playable, just depends on what the meta is going for. And the important thing is it's a human, so if you do run it in a, let's say, a Wind Warrior deck, it does help your Phalanx Captain, things like that. Alrighty, we have our Capricious Lynx, one of the beasts or animals that we're getting in the set, which we're getting a lot of, which all the Tamer players must be rejoicing about. It's Pride 4. Class bonus though, on enter it loses all abilities till end of turn, and it's a 3/3, and it costs 3. First impression of this card, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think it's neat, it's nifty, it's a cool little trick. But let's nitpick the design here a little bit. On the enter, it loses all abilities till end of turn, which means it loses its pride, which it can swing immediately when it comes in for 3 damage, as long as you're a tamer. I think that's a really cool concept that they're sort of playing within the design space they have. Normally a Pride 4 3 cost is not good. You look at Silverback, whose Pride 5 4 costs 6/6. Those are sort of the stats Tamers are used to. The fact that this gets to swing right away, If you play it turn 1, you get 3 damage in, then the card sits. This is mostly a play when you're level 2 Alan, level 2 Sylvie, and you have some Regalias on the field. With that, I'm going to give it a 3-star design. I think it's cool. I think the pride cost is 1 too high, though, for it to really see some play. And for that, playability is going to be 2 stars. I'm unimpressed about this card, and I don't believe it will be hitting a bunch of tamer decks. I can be wrong, and I hope I am, but I feel like there's better 3-drops you want to be running than just a deal 3 damage kind of card. Alrighty, on to the next one. Cunning Broker, a 2-cost assassin human with stealth. You can rest it, remove 2 preparation counters from your champion, and draw a card. So finally we're seeing some more preparation counter payoff. Something that assassins really need is more ways to interact with prep counters than just the couple of cards they had. This also helps Tristan, who gains a lot of prep counters and doesn't really know what to do with them a lot of the time, especially in a meta where there wasn't a lot of allies. And then Xander, when he plays Uncover the Plot, things like that, that just gives him prep counters, because most of his build right now is he doesn't really use it. They just sit on him, and it's a menace to keep track of. But at least this, you get additional draw power. People aren't going to be removing it easily unless they want to burn a spell against it. So you get to just chill there, drawing your card every other turn with your Tristan. Impression, I'm going to give it 2 stars. It's a card. I think the art's cool. It's your generic common. A design, I'll give it 5 stars. I think design's great. The fact that it interacts as prep counters as stated, and stealth. That's what more can I ask for. Playability though, I'm gonna give it, oh gosh, I'm gonna give it 3 stars for playability. I'm not sure if people will be sliding this in your deck, but maybe it's gonna be a cool 2 of, maybe a nice side piece 3 of tech. But yeah, other than that, I don't think it's going to be much more. Not really going to be a staple or a core in many assassins. Dawn of Ashes. This is a 3-drop unique domain. Cleric Cataclysm. On your upkeep at the beginning of your recollection phase, reveal a card at random from your memory. If this card is not normal element, sacrifice Dawn of Ashes. And then the passive is non-norm element cards cost 1 more to activate. First impression, 5-star. The art is amazing. I love it. The thematic of it, the cleric, just creates this very much erosion of the world. Perfect. For the design, this design is going to lead into so many cool aspects of the game where we're going to see some normal decks. And one of the normal decks that I'm really excited to see and personally build myself is going to be normal Tamer Beatdown. You're just going to run a bunch of wolves, squirrels, just animals and beasts of the normal element, and your top end is going to be Fervent Beastmaster and the card we saw earlier in Bedivere. And you put your opponent 1 behind, you're taxing them 1 every turn, but you also the aggression, so they're slower, and you're faster, and they have to now take even more time to level up and deal with your answers. Otherwise, they're going to be losing very quickly. It's great. I don't know if I've given it, boom, 5 stars in design. Playability, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think it's going to be playable. I feel like this kind of tax strategy is going to be good in this game. Now, speaking of cards, not good ones, Develop Mana. First impression, I'm going to put a 1 star. You put a level counter on your champion. It's a 3-cost slow spell that you get a level counter. Like, okay, coolio. Design, I'm going to give it 2 stars. I wish it was at least fast speed or at least cost 2 or just 1 permanent level. I feel like there's just better cards to run. Maybe your Regalia section's tight and you need that extra level in Tamer or Mage, but I don't really see a niche for it, so playability, I'm going to give it 1 star. I don't believe this will be played that much, that often. I personally don't find a use for this card. The best thing you can hope for this card, I suppose, is in Mage or the new Merlin deck. It helps get to your next level, so when she gets a counter, you do her effect, then you could play this. Then on your next turn, you also get her effect again. But yeah, other than that, not really good. Next, Valkyrie. 2 cost, Fast speed. If target opponent's influence is greater than yours, recover 4. Influence is a new mechanic we're getting. Yay, new mechanics. A player's influence is equal to the total amount of cards in hand and memory. So pretty much your resources, hand, memory, that's your influence. And if your opponent has more resources than you, you heal. In addition, it has floating memory. First impression, 4 stars. Anything that heals and then benefits you once it's in the graveyard is going to be a very good card. This is your anti-aggro card. In addition, it's also your anti-I've been starved off of resources kind of card. I really believe this card is going to be helpful if you are playing an aggressive deck, sort of like a Win Lorraine, where you Beseech turn 1, then Dungeon Guide turn 2, and now you're very lackluster in cards. So instead of taking those 2 to 3 turns to recover and build up your hand, you can fast cure, heal yourself from the damage you've been taking, and it helps get you to that level 3. For design, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars, and playability, we'll give it 3 stars. I don't believe it's going to go in every deck, but we'll go in a select few, and in the decks that it will be in, it will matter a lot to that. Fractal of Insight, one of our new card types, which is a Fantasia. It's a mage fractal. Fractals are going to be, or Fantasias are going to be, permanent objects on a field that have abilities, and most of them have the keyword reservable, which is super neat because it helps you pay for the cost of cards from your hand. Helps you pay for the reserve cost. So it's a way to sort of accelerate. You invest in one turn, and the next turn you get a resource, and then turn after that it's an additional resource. This is a 2-cost one. On enter, you may rest it. Fractal of Insight. If you do, glimpse 2, and then it's reservable. My impression, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think the card is nifty. It's a 2-cost reservable card. So if you play it on a turn, let's say turn 1, 2, on your next turn, you're already -2 of the card, -3 if you count itself. You on your next turn, you tap this one to help play for another card. You're now -2. Moral of the story is, after 3 turns, this card pays for itself, and anything after that, it is now plussing you, which is saving a card in hand to be able to cast more. So I think these kind of fractals are going to be a really core part of control style decks, or decks that want to be able to keep tempo as they get into the later style of the turns. The playability, I'm going to give that 5 stars. This card is going to go in almost any deck I can think of that I will build, where I need to be able to play things on curve, have things to do on turn 1, or to help dig in the deck a little bit better. Now for design, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 stars. I'm going to just set a nice baseline. This is our base Fantasia Mage Fractal at a 3 star. Any other fractals will be compared to this, and we can go from there. Ooh, Gawain, Chivalrous Thief, has a beautiful CSR found in the event packs of Fractured Crown, so make sure you go ahead and go to your local tournaments to go play in those to have a chance at getting one. First impression of this card, well, let's read it. It's a 2-cost, unique ally assassin ranger human, level 2+, true sight. On champion hit, you may sacrifice Gawain. If you do, look at target opponent's memory and discard a card from it. I'm gonna give it a 3 star. I think right now in the current game, this card is meh. It's a 1/1. You do get to get a card out of your opponent's memory, but that really only matters late game-ish. I have a feeling this isn't really meant for assassin though. This is going to be a ranger staple when we do get our ranger class. And sort of the cards we've been seeing with ranger, they're all about, you know, your opponent can't retaliate, your opponent memory manipulation, things like that. So I feel like we're going to be seeing this a lot more as the game progresses in later sets. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2-star design. I feel like right now it will bump up to 4 stars when ranger does come out, if that is the theme it is going. Playability, we'll give it 3 stars. As I said, some assassins may try and run it. I don't think it's necessary. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope one of these tournaments I go to, I get got by this card, by them getting the Ensoul that I put in my memory, being greedy. And I don't understand why they would give it True Sight. Maybe to counter some stealth options. Not a lot of champions get stealth themselves. So, yeah, curious. Next card. Gentle Respite. Oh, look at that poor crying Sylvie. With Merlin comforting her. I don't know. I gotta read the lore. If anyone knows the lore of why Sylvie's crying, of what passed away of hers, and why Merlin's comforting her, let me know. But let's get into card. It's a 3-cost slow spell. If target opponent's influence is greater than yours, draw a card into your memory. And then it has floating memory. First impression, I'm gonna give it 2 stars. Just what I read, what I looked at, 2 stars. But now let's get deeper into the design. It's part of the new influence mechanic, as we discussed earlier, and I believe that they are estimating the influence to have more of a impact now with this game slowing down than it has before. Usually people have more influence than you late in the game when they've gotten their like combos or setups, things like that. I feel like this is a good card to sort of counteract people if they try and hold on or get a little like ahead early start. Design of this card, I think this card is meh. It's average. I don't see a lot of times you'll be using this early game. It's probably a decent mid-game card, and I'm not sure if you're going to be needing this floating memory mid-game, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a very neutral 3-star design. Playability, we'll throw it at 2 stars. As I said, I really don't know the exact time and place you'd be playing this card. Just thinking as turn orders progress, if you go first, you have 7. Oh, actually, it's really good if you start with the draw 6 spirit and your opponent has the draw 7 spirit, because you're immediately down 1 in influence. So if your opponent opens up turn 1, plays their 7, and you go turn 2, play your draw 6 spirit, this card's active and live right away. So actually kind of cool. But the rating playability will stay the same because that's too much magical Christmas land what if moment. Imperious Highlander. This was also the Anime Expo promo with an altered art. It was super cool. But on enter, Imperious Highlander gets plus X until end of turn, where X is the amount of allies target opponent controls more than you. Impression, 5 stars. I feel like this card is going to be so cool if you can get it off. I really, once again, really want to live in that magical Christmas land where you're playing against like a Sylvie deck or a Lorraine deck who went super wide on their turn. They're like 5 allies and you just slam Imperious Highlander down and swing for 7. You're like, haha, you're hubris. A design, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. I feel like it's kind of a well thought out design. I wish it could have done something more than just like amount of allies target opponent controls, just because we've never really seen a meta in Dawn of Ashes that is ally heavy. A lot of times it's very control-y, remove the board, stuff like that. So I've never really had a time to like play it and get like, oh, insane value, but we'll see. Playability, we'll go with neutral 3 stars. It might see play if it is an ally heavy meta. Lancelot, Goliath of Asa with that CSR. Standing like a boss with that sword, and that signature, mwah, perfect, looking great. So it introduces a new mechanic to us, Hindered. Ally enters the field arrested. Class bonus, level 2, he gets plus 2 health, and on attack, you may pay 3, 3 being reserves, so cards from your hand, or reservable. If you do, actually, does reservable work for that? That's a question to ask the devs. If you do, Lancelot gets plus 3 till end of turn. So at level 2, he can be a 5/5 beater. First impression of this card, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 stars. I'm not impressed about it. I feel like it's something to be desired because it doesn't do anything till the next turn. And speaking of doing something till the next turn, the design of the card, I don't feel like there's a cohesive theme for the card. And this may just be another one of those it's labeled Guardian Warrior, but it may be more up the Guardian aspect of it. Because we don't really have a way to like activate, untap our allies that much. But yeah, why play Lancelot when you could play Arthur? Not only does he become invulnerable till your next turn, but he also buffs your other allies. And he is a 3/3, I believe. So you get 2 extra, or -2 attack, but you don't have to pay for it. A design, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2 star in design, and then I'm going to give it a 1 star in playability. I just don't see a deck for it, and I'm really curious to see if anyone will be putting this in deck or building around it. Lurking Assailant. 3 cost, Assassin Human. Lurking Assailant has stealth as long as it's awake. And then it has a level 1+ ability. Lurking Assailant may retaliate against attackers while not defending with a 2/3 stat line. What a great stat line for this kind of card. First impression, gonna give it 4 stars. Artwork's cool. The way the abilities read is just like a ninja, so it fits in that theme. Playability, I feel like this card is going to be playable. And I might be crazy, but this is a sort of a get you card if your opponent's not paying attention. They can be making an attack that they think is beneficial to them because their ally will survive and they're removing one of yours. And this guy can sort of just like tap himself and be like, hey, you're attacking something else, but I'm going to be dealing 2 damage to you because I'm an assassin and I should have been paying attention. So I'm going to give it a 4-star playability just because I feel like it's going to make attack math so much harder for players. And I know a lot of players don't pay attention that much to it. A design space, I like what they're doing with it, so I'm going to give it 5 stars. I like the fact that this card doesn't have intercept. It's not trying to like tell you to get down. It's a combat trick on board. And we need more of those. I feel like being able to have tricks and force your opponent into bad situations is something that really is a test of skill. Morgan, Soul Guide, another CSR. All these normal CSRs. Here is a Cleric Mage Human. Level 1+, prevent all non-attack damage that will be dealt to Morgan. Level 2, your opponents can't recover. Stop healing. Class bonus. At the beginning of your recollection phase, you may glimpse 1 if you don't recover 1. First impression, 4 stars. I think the card is neat. Artwork is awesome. Design, I like the design. It reminds me of other games where they have like sort of level up mechanics, and Morgan feels like as you level up you get more and more benefit. Immediately her level 1 prevents people from burning her out, so they have to attack into a 1/3 stat line, which means they're usually spending 1 or 2 allies to get in there. Level 2, your opponents can't recover, is going to be really interesting, especially with our new spirits that we got. So it's a great way to stop people from running out of control. Looking at you, Water Xander. And then the Glimpse 1 and Recover 1, not that big of a deal, but it will add up, help you either get through more cards of your deck or get a little bit of health back. Once again, this is probably leaning more towards a Cleric cost than a Mage. But yeah, so design, I'll go ahead and give that 4 stars. Playability, we'll give that 4 stars as well. Now, on to the next. It's just an ordinary bear, what we're dealing with. A 3 cost, 2/3, Pride 2, class bonus, Floating Memory. Now, in comparison to our other 3-drop 3/3 with Pride 4, this bear is where it's at. His cost is good for his stats, which is good for his pride level, and he also gives you floating memory. What's not to like about just an ordinary bear? It looks like he's looking at a salmon snack, and with that, I'm giving him 5 stars. I too would look at that salmon snack. A design, giving it 4 stars. I think the design is great. Playability, 5 stars. Putting this in all my tamer decks, especially my normal beatdown tamer. Peaceful Reunion. I am very excited for this card, and I hope you are as well, because this card is going to be so much fun. It's a 4 cost, slow speed cleric spell. Activate this card if you have not declared an attack this turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, you and target player can't declare attacks, and then you banish this card. This is a great card to slow down aggressive decks, and also give you time to set up your combo. You're like, oh, I need a turn to combo, but I will die next turn. Answer, Peaceful Reunion. Or like, hey, I know I can't kill my opponent, but my opponent can kill me. I need to see if I can draw another answer. Boom, Peaceful Reunion. So with that, impression, 5 star. Design, 5 star. Playability, I don't care what anyone says, 5 star on this playability. If this doesn't see play, I will force it to see play. Catch me at Ascent Houston with 4 copies of this in my deck, all foiled. Now, Prismatic Sanctuary. This card that Trisket players around the world have been wanting. It is a unique domain for 3 Mage Castle. Upkeep at the beginning of your recollection phase. Reveal a card at random from your memory. If that card is not fire, water, nor wind, sacrifice it. So if it's anything, if it's a normal card, sacrifice this. However, fire, water, and wind elements are enabled for you. Yes, multi-element decks. We're finally getting it. This is your early game payoff if you're wanting to play Trisket, so you don't just have dead cards in hand. Impression of this card, 5 stars. I think the card is super, super cool, and I'm glad they're doing that in their design space, which will also be a 5-star. We need more cards that encourage unique deck building and creativity out there, and I feel like deck building is 50% of the game, so it should be 50% of the fun. Playability, I'm gonna give it a 3-star. I know I was talking it up a little bit there, but I don't think it's gonna be that much of a game changer. You can do some really funny stuff with it, but other than that, I don't think it's gonna be doing much. 3-cost Resolute Stand. Guardian skill reaction. So we're seeing some more reactions. Level 2+, you may activate this card without paying its reserve cost. If you do, skip your next draw phase. So you pretty much play it for free or minusing 1 card on your next turn. Whenever target unit would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 3 of that damage. So this is a way to save either champions or an ally if people are doing incremental damage. So it's great if someone's like aggroing you down or someone's pinging you, looking at you, Waterzander. Yeah, it's great. I hope Guardian gets more of these kind of like theme or thematic of their, you know, doing a big sacrifice for something or big sacrifice for protection and stuff like that. With that design space, I'm going to give it 4 stars. My initial impression of the card is 3 stars. Because I see the uses, I just don't know if, once again, if we're going to be in a ally heavy, I don't know if we're going to be in an ally heavy meta. And if we are, this card is going to be great. With that, playability will also sit at 3 stars for that exact reason. It's like a 2 more cost deflecting edge, but that can also be played for free at level 2. It does stop Luxem from revealing Lightweaver assaults on a kill turn to kill you, but who knows? Alright, on to the next one. Right of the Realm. This is our first main deck UR rarity, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see what this card can actually do. It's a 3 cost. Whenever you activate a domain card, you may sacrifice Right of Realm. If you do, that domain enters the field without any of the upkeep abilities, and it also has floating memory. So this is a way to shut off upkeep abilities from domains to prevent them from going away. I feel like this is the necessary evil card we need. Domains were so bad, especially the initial 3 of they go away when you materialize. And a lot of the cards want to be on the field for a long time, like Camelot, where you want to take full advantage of casting something to negate it into bouncing one of your own allies so you get your ETB trigger. The game encourages you to be very aggressive with your material deck by leveling up, getting regalias, things like that. So initial impression of this card, 4 stars. Design, I'm going to give it 5 stars, especially because it has floating memory. You're going to be running 4 of these in your deck usually if you are going to be running domains. You know, your domain comes in, you sacrifice it, boom, get use of it next turn as well. And then you can play more domains if you play more copies. Playability, we'll give it a 4 star as well. I feel like if you're running domains and you want them to stay on the field, you're running this card, which also introduces a really cool way to maybe get a mill deck going on with water. We got the Scavenging Raccoon, another little animal guy, 2 cost, on enter, banish up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. He's a 1/1. This is going to be some graveyard hate that is much needed in this game. It's a great way to remove Crux cards from Lorraine's graveyard, remove some of those pesky fire cards from any fire deck, and also get rid of floating memory. Help starve your opponent off of resources. First impression, 5 stars. Design, 5 stars. Playability, 4 stars. This card is going to definitely see some sideboard use, and then Tamers will probably be running this main. Maybe you can introduce sort of a control style Tamer deck. Oh, Seeking Shot, our ranger attack. Level 2 plus True Sight. Class bonus, Seeking Shot can't be retaliated, so we can't take advantage of that quite yet. As long as the attacker is attacking a human ally, Seeking Shot gets +3. It's a weird 1 damage attack for 1 that encourages you to kill allies, which makes me curious if Ranger is going to have a lot of on-kill bonuses or on-kill effects, like they're hunting. because it becomes a 4 damage attack when you hit the ally. First impression, I think the card is cool, but I'm going to give it a 3-star. Design space, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I see what they're doing with. I understand the concept of it. The class bonus of Seeking Shot can't be retaliated is really cool because it helps you remove allies without getting punished for it as a ranger, especially because you're shooting a bow. It's an arrow. You can't retaliate against an arrow. Playability wise though, it's a 1-star. No one's going to be running this until ranger comes out. This card is completely dead until the next set drops. Stalwart Shieldmate, a 2-cost with taunt and floating memory and a 0-2. Impression, 5-star. It's solid. The art's nice. I like keywords, the keyword taunt, the keyword floating memory. Perfect. And it's well costed. Design, I'm going to give it 5 stars as well. It's something this game needs. It's a great introduction to taunt. Very basic. Won't really need many questions about it. Playability, we'll give it 3 stars. I feel like it will be played in some decks. I feel like it's going to replace anybody who is running Honorable Vanguard will now be running Stalwart Shieldmate to replace. Steady Verse, 2-cost, action, Cleric Tamer skill melody. The next Harmony action you activate this turn, +1 less, draw a card into memory. I think this card is going to be great into setting up into Erupting Rhapsody combos and help supporting Water Tamer. I feel like it's something that I'm enjoying that they're working with. I'm going to give that a 4 in the design space. I love the Harmony Melody interaction. And I love how it rewards you for playing it first by getting that card into your memory. So just in case you can't win on that turn, you do get another card for your next turn. It replaces itself. Impression, going to give it 3 stars. Playability, I'll give it 5 stars. I think this card is going to be playable and it's going to be seen a lot in Tamer decks. Thieving Cut, a really cool assassin attack, 2-cost. Prepare 1 on hit. If Thieving Cut was prepared, draw a card and it's 3 damage. I'm just going to point out the flavor text. What yours is mine with the art is really cool. So just off of that, I'm going to give it a 4-star for my first impression. When it comes to design of the card, I feel like this is a, hey, put in Tristan kind of card. It was made for her, designed for her. You're rewarded for running it because you're going to have prep counters and you want to be dealing damage using it for removal. It replaces itself with the drawing card. I'm going to give it a 5-star on design. And for playability, if you're playing Tristan, this card's playable. Maybe not so much in Xander. So with that, we're going to give that a 4-star. Alrighty, with that, that is the end of our normal element cards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and go ahead and tell me your thoughts about it down below. And like the last video, there's going to be a hidden Lorraine somewhere in here. So go ahead and comment if you can find it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.